In the energy sector, there is need for a lot of creativity. And these solutions will also include relationship with the regulatory agencies. It will also include relationship with communities. Every company must have a training and coaching veteran, and is the founder, along with his wife, of the Epekuride Foundation. But he's not going to do teaching and coaching here. He's going to speak as an industry person about the issues we're looking at. But from the composition of the panel, you can see where the... Okay, Mr. Epekuride, I now come to you to take a look at some of the cross-cutting issues. As someone who has a deep knowledge of the industry in Nigeria, particularly how much security do we have for communities and also for oil and gas industry staff, some of whom get kidnapped, some of whom have a ransom placed on their heads, because their own security is also important, because we started by talking about people. And then infrastructure. Infrastructure is very important. Infrastructure integrity is part of the problem. If you have infrastructure, you don't maintain it, you don't upgrade it, then you have problems of efficiency. But you can take on all the cross-cutting issues to save time.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Abati. Standing on existing protocol, I want to also express my deep appreciation to the GMD of Solewant and for the Solewant group for taking on this challenge. It is taking on a challenge that I believe is like a national problem, ideally. But if Solewant group has decided to take on a lion's challenge, that speaks a lot to the capacity of the leadership in the group. Now, talking about asset integrity management and security, I think it goes, securing assets in the energy sector and making sure that these assets are available in the long term cannot be taken out of isolation of what happens in a country like Nigeria. Now, it's okay to look at it in isolation, but generally speaking, in nations with the kind of wealth, poverty disparity in Nigeria, some of what we see are symptoms that we cannot easily erase. Just 3 days ago, Nigerian Society of Engineers, Lekki branch, we hosted a seminar on gas assets and opportunities. Now, the speakers who spoke on that event, they showed numerous opportunities in the gas sector. But then, there's always a caveat at the end of every speaker's speech. Are you willing to invest in 3,000 kilometers of a gas pipeline? And just one bomb, all of that investment is gone. And as I sat in the forum in Lekki, I said to myself, these are not problems that even some of us within the sector have easy answers to. In another forum, I was privileged to be present, and with the big wigs of Aliko Dangote, there was a presentation. It was on growing the economy of Nigeria. And the moderator asked a simple question and put two options on the board. If you were asked which of these two problems, if solved, would dramatically change the fortune of Nigeria as a country, one of them, reduction of corruption in public offices. Number two, availability of electricity supply in the country. Now, very shockingly, I was one of those who voted for option one, reduction of corruption in public offices. Now, he showed us in graph after graph that if you took option one, you are wrong. and it started showing us the impact of total eradication of corruption in Nigeria and the impact of availability of energy. I was shocked by that presentation. Now, that shows how important what we are discussing today is all about. That this energy has to be made available. To close just the wealth gap and the disparities that spring out some of the things we are trying to solve, community disturbances, theft, kidnapping and all that, we must solve the economic problem. Now, we are dealing with an issue that if we can really get it right. Now, I have sometimes I think about the work of the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force along these lines. They are doing a good job because I want to add, their work cannot be carried out in isolation of the greater challenges faced by Nigeria as a country. Now, the challenges faced by Nigeria as a country must be addressed for some of these isolated issues. So long as the poverty-wealth gap remains what it is, the rewards you will reap from all the efforts of the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force will not be as much as we are anticipating. Now, a lot is shifting in Nigeria, I must dare say. Quite a number of things are shifting, but I still know that there is a holistic change that needs to take place in the way we think about the problems. Sorry to digress. When recently I heard in the news that, the president has ordered the withdrawal of police from VIPs and all that, I said to myself, there is massive unemployment. The police should double their workforce, establish a commercial arm, and tax private organizations and individuals for these police they see to them, not to withdraw them. When you reduce the amount of people who are in the job market, equip the police, equip the army, increase their welfare. If there is a service that will be valuable to private individuals, I mean, who else has the legal right to carry arms other than those in the army? Who else has the power to address or to maintain law and order other than the police? So VIPs cannot go and say we want to provide security for ourselves. Now, okay, we are looking at energy security, but all of these things play in this space. Energy security and integrity management does not exist in isolation. Now, so if we are Nigeria in the next 5 years or so is projected to have double the current need of energy it has. Now, there must be policy around all of these demands that we ensure that there is a suitable atmosphere, there is the environment by which those who want to invest in this sector. Just 3 to 10 years ago, Nigeria was net an importer of refined products. Today, we are not only talking of Dangote refinery, we are having new entrants that are going to turn what we call Nigeria today to an energy hub to export refined products. Now, the government needs to do its part to see that all of this environment is made more favorable, more conducive for investment, and make it easy. I mean, the army and the armed forces, they lose some of their personnel in some of this work. But if all of the environments are neatly brought together, like I said in the introduction, Solewant is trying to solve a problem that is so big, but it speaks of the heart of the leadership. But this is a holistic problem that demands government action, government involvement, and government to take the bull by the horn. Thank you very much.
Before I come back to the general, now you've raised 2 things. You were saying that if we close the gap between poverty and wealth, poverty-wealth disparity, you called it. Now, I have a slightly different opinion. I mean, from one country to the other, the circumstances are different. Take South Africa, the electricity sector in South Africa. Now, it was mismanagement, too much bureaucracy, too much political interference that has hobbled the electricity sector in South Africa today. If we're looking for, okay, lessons from other jurisdictions. Take Nigeria. Isn't our problem here cultural? In terms of our cultural heritage, we have no respect for other people's assets. If we employ people in your company and they see the MD wearing a particular type of shoe, the shop floor level employee, he also wants to wear that same pair of shoes. And it doesn't matter that his salary cannot get it. He is ready to sabotage the company. Government assets. Most Nigerians don't respect government assets. They will look at the asset, they will say, hey, after all, it's government property. So it is nobody's property. That's why they could never succeed in maintaining the refineries. And yet, money budgeted for will not be accounted for. Isn't that cultural? In the communities that we are talking about, youth leaders there think that having oil and gas resources in their area is an opportunity for them to become idle and become government picking. And the traditional rulers, of course, are always collecting. So this is a cultural problem, in my view. After all, they have oil and gas facilities in Saudi Arabia. Nobody destroys government facilities in Saudi Aramco. They have Petrobras in Brazil. We have not heard that people go there and they go and destroy the pipelines. But you may say here, our pipelines are old and aging. That's why even if you put a nail inside a pipeline in Nigeria, you will get crude oil. So I just wanted to throw it back to you. So how do you solve something that is cultural?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Abati. Now, you are very correct in what you've said, but you see, it has taken us time to get to where we are today. I think I was talking with my brother, Ambassador Jeba, earlier on, and I was talking about how I served in Kano, and right now it looks like it is an anathema to be posted to Kano to do NYC. So a lot has changed in the country up to where we are today. Now, I don't want to go into the reasons. They are just too numerous for a panel session like this. Now, but this is where we are. I don't support, the cultural aspect is there. The lack of respect for government infrastructure is there. But the umpire, you see, when you are trying to, as a mathematician, if the number of variables in a problem are too much, it becomes difficult to find a solution. So what you need, what we are trying to, I'm only highlighting some variables. The community themselves are some of the variables. But we are looking long term, not just something that is one step, we do one thing and, oh, we start clapping. We want to see that we are heading between 1.8 and 2 million barrels per day right now, which is kudos to all the army and whoever, all of those who are involved in this aspect. But it has to go more than Navy patrolling the Gulf of Guinea. It has to go, just like you talked about other countries. The army are still not doing some of these things. But we want to solve them. We are already here. Now, if we are already here, the cultural part is there. But if we try to see that, you see, when I was living in the Republic of Ireland, I noticed something. It was so difficult for an entrepreneur to start a business as a barber because the power is there. You just take a small space and you are a barber. Now think of what it takes to set up a barbing shop in Nigeria. You have to own a generator. You have to pay for 1 year. Now all of these are blockades that, like, as if almost half of the country has been taken out of the economic opportunity available in Nigeria. But it's not, if we fix one and we leave the other, we will not be guaranteed of our energy security like we would. The world is changing and changing fast. New technologies are requiring new energy demands. And we must sit down to see that all of these problems are dealt with. Because if they are not dealt with and we look at one problem in isolation, we will not be dealing with the real issue. Thank you.
Ekpekuride. Captain, General, do you want to add anything? Or?
Just to add on the issue of collusion you mentioned earlier, that yes, there are bad eggs in every organization, including Nigerian Navy or the armed forces in general. But the armed forces is not relenting. Anybody found wanting or colluding with criminals, we have a system in place to check that. It's not as if Navy is totally clear or armed forces is totally clear. But yeah, there's a system to checkmate that. Thank you, sir.
Well, regarding that, I think he has made the point clear regarding infractions within the system, and I think every agency, not just the armed forces, will continue to do its best to ensure that some of these bad eggs are eradicated. Just to round up regarding everything that I've said, security and the integrity of the assets, the energy infrastructure itself. Myself, I'm a data kind of person, and so what the data says, lead to what we continue to do. And for us in the land component, I think so far so good. The data has been is encouraging that we are moving in the right direction. So what does that mean for the energy infrastructure for the country? All the agencies, all the partners, will continue to do more so that we can meet the targets set by the federal government of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General. Thank you, Navy Captain. Thank you, Mr. Tunde Ekpekuride. Well, we just scratched the surface. The MC, you will see, was, coming again and again. Because I wanted to throw the discussion open. Because there are other issues that we have not talked about regulation. And there are industry experts here who can talk 19 to a dozen about the regulatory framework and whether the bureaucracy that the Petroleum Industry Act was supposed to reduce and minimize, whether it's still there. And then also about fiscal stability. There's nothing you do in the energy sector that you don't need money. Discos in the electricity sector, they are complaining that the government is owing them up to 4 trillion and they cannot function because they don't have access to funds. You can't run any business anyway without access to capital. It's just that the energy sector is far more capital intensive. And then I see policemen in the room. They are the ones who are supposed to protect lives and property. So how much effort? Now that they have been withdrawn from VIPs, how about the ordinary people? What challenges do they face? But it looks like we have run out of time, but there will be opportunities for more interactions in the course of the day, and then the experts can address these issues as we discuss other cross-cutting issues, technology, innovation, and all of that. Thank you very much, panel, and thank you. MC, okay, I'm done.
Thank you very much. Please, this Group C, if you can come join them for a quick family photo. Give them a better round of applause. They've had a robust conversation around security and asset integrity framework for our Africa energy future. Thank you so much for the fine job of moderating the panel, Dr. Abati. And your panelists gave quite... All right. Technical. Do I have Professor still online or no? That's Professor Bolaji Babatunde. I saw, yeah, I think he's still there. Prof, can you turn on your